Hello, this is Alex Fonsus with your Sunday songwriting tips. Today we're going to talk about lyrics and in particular how you have to be very precise with your use of words, because like in a lot of songwriting and production, your margin of error if you want to write a great song isn't all that large. So you have to think carefully how you're going to place your words, how you're going to choose your words. And so today we're going to look at lots of different example songs and see how the greats have solved that particular problem as to whether to make your lyrics more poetic or make them more prosaic or straight down the middle, if you like, more conversational. So what we need to do is just be aware when we're in the middle of inspiration. Sometimes we just write whatever we feel, which is fine, but when you then come to edit your lyric, it's important that you go back and have a look at what kind of words you're using. I think last time when we spoke about lyrics on this channel, we talked about safe words, soft words, and adventurous words. And so let me just recap. So safe words are words like me, you, tonight, baby, or yes, no, why, because. Those kinds of words you would find in any sentence, really, in normal spoken English. And soft words are words like love, dream, kiss, miss, hope, embrace, those kinds of words. And then you have the adventurous words like radioactive or genie in a bottle or toxic, which of course make great titles as well. And our songs need to have a mixture of all three categories. And of course, a large majority of our words should be safe words, because if they were all soft words, then it's going to be very soppy. It's not going to be like Western pop music. And if you are using mainly adventurous words, then the listener will probably not get what you want to say. So the trick is to have that mixture of safe, soft, and adventurous words just right, so that the listener feels like they're in the middle of enjoying or taking in a piece of art, but at the same time get the message behind the words as well. And like I said, if you get that wrong, then your lyric is just not going to feel legit. And I think that's what we all want out of writing lyrics or out of doing anything, right? If we are programming a beat and we haven't got the right drum sounds, then it's not going to feel legit. No matter how hard we work at it, it's just going to feel strange, right? Say you're doing drum and bass and you haven't got that drum and bass snare with a huge peak at 200 hertz, then it's just going to sound weird. And the same with words. So you're writing a modern song and it's full of soft words and it's full of words that nobody can understand, then it's just not going to feel very current. And so we're going to look at lots of different lyrics today from all sorts of eras and see what we get. And before we do that, though, I also want to briefly recap what we did before in the earlier episode on lyrics, which is look at the hallmarks of a great lyric. So we started out with a great title, which is quite obvious because a lot of the time people are not even going to be looking much past the title. Say they have a playlist on Spotify, or maybe somebody sends them some links, or maybe they even get CDs on their desks, right? And so they're going to look at the titles and see, well, if this is called I Miss You, then, well, why should I listen to this, right? And then probably the rest is going to be quite generic and boring as well. It may not be, of course, it may be the best I Miss You song ever, but the prospective listener cannot know that. So they take a chance. They make a bet that, well, if the title isn't exciting, then the rest is going to be so-so at best. Right? So don't take any risks there. Actually, don't take any risks anywhere. But because if you have if you have a great title, but you have a weak concept, meaning you're not really saying anything, you don't have a viewpoint on anything, you don't have an angle, you don't have a story, you don't have a history, then it's also going to leave the listener cold, and they're going to ask that brutal question, so what? Which is a horrible question, but it's something we have to avoid at all times, because people may say, so what? Because they cannot relate to the title or the concept, I should say, at all, because they just haven't experienced that. So if I write about how I tune my Ferrari engine on a Saturday afternoon, right? Which is, it's great fun to do. It runs faster. It makes a louder noise, and I can overtake people on the motorway, or I think highway or freeway, as many of you call it. It's great, but it's not going to be relatable. It's not going to be relevant to a lot of people. So that's why I wouldn't write about tuning my Ferrari and polishing it and doing all sorts of things with it and ordering new leather seats for it. And most songs are about relationships or social themes, like friendship, for example, that concern a lot of people and not just the chosen few. And the other reason why people say, so what, is because they've heard it a million times before. So if we're writing, okay, let's go back to our example of I Miss You. So we're writing about that, and the days are too long without you, the bed's too big without you, and so forth and so forth. Then people are going to switch off, because how many times has this been covered in songs? So it's always good to come to lyric writing with a fresh angle, right? A fresh concept that is yours. It doesn't have to be completely autobiographical, but it has to sound like you really care about it, right? So we have a great title, we have a great concept. What else do we need to write a great lyric? Well, I think imagery and rhyming, of course, they're very important. Not too little, not too much, and we may well have time to have a look at that later on. And we also need our language. This is coming back to what we already started on. We need it to be believable, emotional, and relatable, and personal, I should say, and vulnerable, right? All of these things, so that our words speak to people, that they don't leave them cold, they don't wash over them. Because don't forget, there are a lot of songs doing the rounds today, and or any given day, and then your lyrics have to stand out. They have to mean something. Because a lot of us are maybe not natural lyric writers, which is fine. We can improve on all aspects of writing and production. But it doesn't mean we're allowed to gloss over the lyric writing process and write any old stuff. So, for example, we have a great beat and then we write a melody over the top. We just hum it or play it on an instrument. And then we just fill in the blanks with our lyrics. And of course, anybody can fill the blanks with some syllables, especially in the English language, where lots of the words are short and a lot of the words rhyme. And so therefore it's not beyond most people to write a lyric, right? So that the page is full and you can actually sing it and record it and mix it and master it, right? But I would contend that the lyrics are the main reason why anybody is going to fall in love with your song. Think about that for a minute. Isn't that what you really want from songwriting? People to fall in love with your song, people to become fans, or as modern marketing speak would call them, super fans. And you cannot do that without writing great lyrics that come from the heart, but also lyrics that are technically correct. Now, I cannot teach you to write from the heart if you are not a very open or vulnerable person. I can nudge you towards it, of course, but I can definitely teach you technique and how to use words and everything else. So we will make some progress today. And don't forget, of course, if lyric writing is not your main strength, you can always collaborate with people, right? Always. It's sometimes I think it's a little bit of a lost art, especially since those periods of lockdowns we've all suffered where people are stuck at home. And of course, you can write over Zoom or Skype or whatever have you, but it's not the same as being in the room with somebody. But anyway, collaboration is very, very important, even if you only send your lyrics to somebody else, whether that's a songwriting coach like myself, or just somebody who's good with words, right? Or a friend whose opinion you respect, so that your lyrics have some kind of they ring out into the real world. Your words are not just confined to your own studio or bedroom or wherever you write. And this is important if you want to make progress, to get together with other people. So like I said, if lyric writing isn't your main strength, then there are other people who are very good at lyric writing. But of course, even if you collaborate with other people, you should still be a very good lyricist yourself, right? Or be as good as you possibly can be, so that you can judge what the other person does, how they maybe correct your first draft, or you correct their first draft or second draft. And it's good to have a working knowledge at the very least of all the aspects of this wonderful game. And have we got any more hallmarks of a great lyric? Maybe one more, and that would be to have at least one killer line in your song, right? Because if you haven't got that, if say all your lyrics are about 75, 80, 85% there, which is great, it's still something to aspire to, but it's much better to have a few filler lines that are okay, and then have a few great lines, that really make the listener jump out of their chair, especially if it's the first line, right? Because don't forget, people have short attention spans, and if you can reel them in with your very first line, so much the better, right? So I think that's probably enough theory. Of course, as it said in the description below, you can always ask questions. If you're watching this live, ask questions in the chat. If you're watching it in the replay, you can also comment, of course, and you can send me an email on the email address on the screen. And it's all there. I'm all there to answer questions, because I love talking about songwriting. It's what I do all day, so I don't mind answering questions. So let's have a look at some example songs. Actually, lots of example songs. And so I'm going to make these songs as big as possible, the lyrics as big as possible, so see if this works. I hope it does. Super. So this song here is called Firework, and Firework is a song. Well, let's just quickly scroll through, and then we're going to have a chat about what this song is about. Okay, so maybe we remember a little bit. So just have a look again. what do the lyrics say? What kind of language is it? Is it completely natural language that you would you would possibly be able to read in a magazine article, on a blog, or maybe in a book, like a self-help book? Because this song is about empowerment, is it not? It's about motivation. So your best is still to come, which is a great concept, of course, because everybody likes to hear that, right? So we've got boxes ticked off. We've got the title Firework, which is exciting. It's dynamic. It really leaps off the page like almost no other title can. And then we have a concept which is about, well, don't give up now because you don't know what's in store for you, right? Which I suppose applies to all of us. And so it's universal, it's relatable, it's emotional in a way as well, because it sounds like somebody really cares about that person they're singing to, right? They care about that friend, right? Who's probably in desperate need of a little bit of encouragement, and Katy Perry gives it to them. So all those boxes are ticked. Now, we said about a killer line. Do we have a killer line in this song? Well, depends a little bit on your taste, right? But let's just look right at the first line. Do you ever feel like a plastic bag? Right? So what does that mean? Like a plastic bag. What's that? Right? So that can't even be in a pop song, but it is. So some people may love it, some people may hate it, but it's definitely memorable. And as writers, that's a large part of what we have to do, to write something that's memorable, that people are not going to be glossing over just like that, or glazing over even if they see it, or to just not paying any attention to what we have worked so hard to craft. And so here we have this line, and nobody can ever forget that, right? Apparently, it's a reference to an old movie called American Beauty. It may be maybe just shy of 20 years old, but where that movie starts with a plastic bag drifting through the wind. This is a rumor I've heard. I don't know if that's true or not, but it makes sense, right? This way it reaches a few more people who can get this reference. But even without it, I think it's a very, very strong start. And it just carries on with lots of imagery, right? But it's not so obscure that you cannot get the message, right? So that's the important thing here. So you don't have to actually call Katy Perry and ask her what she wrote the song about, right? Whereas a lot of songs I see from students, or songs maybe that you find on Spotify, but there aren't really big hits. They are called what in old language used to be called album tracks. Those songs are quite obscure. Or they're not obscure, but they're about something that nobody cares about. Like I said before, people have heard too many times. So here, it's obviously a very important subject, right? Because many people lack self-belief, right? And so they need any support they can get, and they're getting it from this song, right? And so you've got lots of imagery, and but it's original imagery, right? So before we talked about adventurous words, so let's count the number of adventurous words we have. So we have plastic bag, we have drifting, we have paper thin, house of cards, caving in, spark, and then we've got ignite the light, the 4th of July, and of course all of that, and shine and night. This all relates to the title Firework as well, right? And this is why I like this song. To me, it's like a textbook song, right? It's not my favorite song in the world. It's probably not even my favorite Katy Perry song, but it has all the hallmarks of great writing, and of course great production as well, which you may look in another episode because today we're going to focus just on the words on the page. Because what I'd like you to get is when you have your lyric in a similar format, say you're working on it in a computer, have it center aligned like this, have it look exactly like AZ Lyrics, which is the site that we are streaming here. And then you can get an intuitive feeling for how your lyrics need to look, both in terms of the length of the pages, but also in terms of the words as well, how it feels, right? So this was Firework, and we've got a few others lined up. Let's see what else there is. We have a song called... we have a nice pop-up, so you can see we're really streaming that live. And what have we got? A song called Merry Go Round by an American country singer called Casey Musgraves. And this is a song that I think it's full of lyrical brilliance. It's something for all of us, including myself, I have to admit, to aspire to, right? Both Firework, of course, and this song as well, and of course many of the others we'll be looking at, right? So we're not, in this episode, we're not looking at horrible songs, right? We're looking at very, very good songs with great lyrics. So this song, let's have a look. Let's just scroll through. And first of all, we want to get an impression of what is the song about? What does the language feel like, and so forth? What kind of music is this probably going to be, and so forth? So let's just scroll to the end, so or at least the end of the chorus, because there's lots of words to take in, right? The title is Merry Go Round, so yeah, so this is the second chorus, and I think after that, there's an end to the story as well, right? So again, in this episode, we're not looking at analyzing the whole story and viewpoints and all of that. We're just trying to find out what the song is about, what the concept is, and what kind of words the writer is using. Okay, so what do you think? I think this song is not dissimilar to Firework in that it's not about a relationship, right? Because most songs are love songs. So this song isn't, which is great. And it's about something that, I don't know if those of you who are listening, if you can relate to it 100%. But I feel like I'm in that trailer park, or that village or small town where the trailer park is, right? I have not even been to a trailer park, whether on holiday or let alone being brought up in one, but I can picture it, right? And that is the beauty of using lots of imagery like we have in that song, right? So... and of course it says trailer different park, right, which is also a brilliant line, right? This song is full of great lines. So you have same hurt in every heart, and same trailer different park, great line. So here hurt and heart are alliterations, and of course same trailer different park it's called lyrical glue, right? Same and same, and then same and different are opposites. So it's all very technically very well written And first line as well, if you ain't got 2 kids by 21, you're probably gonna die alone, right? Now, if you think about it in a textbook kind of way, that's probably a little bit heavy-handed, right? Because we're right in the middle, right in the thick of it, right in the first line. But again, it's memorable, right? It draws the listener in. You could debate about whether it should be more. There should be a bit more of a gentle introduction into the song, right? So a lot of lyric writing, quite frankly, is also a bit subjective as well. There is no right or wrong, and many of the best lyrics that come about either by brilliant lyricists like her doing their thing, or other lyricists that we may see later, like your Joni Mitchells and Bob Dylans and Princes and so on. Or by collaborating, right? Going back and forth, like I said before. And so what we have here is like a great story type song with lots of imagery, some great rhyming as well. And you still get the balance between poetry or imagery and actually coming out with what needs to be said, right? So there's a little story here, right? So it's not completely obscure. Okay, so there may be some references on certain medicines to certain medicines, right? But other than that, I think it's pretty much it's clear, right? You don't have to do a lot of guesswork, and that's important if our aim is to have lots of listeners, say, on the radio, or people if you want people to pay attention to our song, right? So let me just switch on the camera for a second. Welcome back. I just wanted to have the screen basically as full as possible of the lyrics. You don't have to squint, especially if you're watching this on a mobile. And what I wanted to talk about, which is the main theme of today, although we've already covered quite a bit, I must say. But anyway, it's that mixture between poetry and prose. And I've invented a term for it, and I call it songwriterese. Now, it's supposed to be like a language, like Portuguese or Chinese or Japanese, whatever ease language you can come up with. And it really is a language that, to me, it exists, right? And the best people like Casey Musgraves or Katy Perry and the people she collaborates with, and the other people like Prince, Joni Mitchell, Bob Dylan, we talked about before, they speak it, right? And unfortunately, you and I don't, right? Or maybe I do after doing this for many, many decades, right? But even then, I still have to concentrate very hard on finding that balance between poetry and prose, so that it's not just straight down the middle like we're reading it in a blog article, right? Or maybe in a newspaper if you still read the newspaper, right? So it needs to be a little bit more elevated, a little bit more artistic. But if it's too artistic or too cryptic, then it's too far on the poetry side. It would be great for a poem, right? Something that looks good on the page, but don't forget it also has to be sung. And for those of you who are singers, and for those of you who are singing words by other people, maybe you're in a covers band, or maybe you're really just a singer, if you like, just in quotation marks, like a Rod Stewart or Tina Turner, right? They don't write their own songs, or Tom Jones, right? They just sing. As you could, by the way, as you could see from the examples, those examples are quite old, because these days most singers, most artists write or co-write their own songs, and a lot of it is to do with publishing, with the royalties that they get from writing those songs, or maybe putting in a few words here and there. But it's also that the day of people being manufactured in many ways are gone, apart from maybe a few pockets, very successful pockets like K-pop. But in most genres, you are you need to be seen as somebody who writes. And so if you are, to come back to what we just said, if you sing other people's songs, then you know what it's like sometimes when you sing lines that you don't really believe in, or that feel strange or cringeworthy or horrible in some way, cheesy maybe, over the top, right, contrived, artificial, all sorts of things. And you need to make sure that if you write lyrics yourself, whether it's for yourself or for somebody else, that you give them the ammunition so that they don't have to die with embarrassment on stage, right? So that's your responsibility as a writer. I believe actually as writers that we have a lot of responsibility, right? Because to me there's a very proud history of songwriting and production as well. And I like to feel like I'm part of it, right? So it's something that I take seriously, and I hope you do too, which should result in you not writing any old thing, right? Not programming any old drum pattern, not making any old mix, not putting any old limiter over the top and make it sound crushed and horrible, right? And of course it applies to the subject of today's episode, which is lyrics, right? Because it's easy, like I said before, to do it quickly. But the best writers speak this language called songwriterese, and you need to develop it, you need to learn it, right? I mean, let's look at like a language like, say, Chinese. You wouldn't expect to learn it overnight, right? So, say, how long would it take you to be reasonably fluent in Chinese? I don't speak it, so I can only guess. But I'd say 6 months, right? If you practice every day. And I'm sure that's the same with songwriterese, maybe longer than that, right? So you just need to be doing it, ideally with other people, right? Collaborators, teachers, coaches, whoever it may be. Publishers, if you're lucky enough to get a publishing deal without being fully formed as a writer. Maybe your songwriting, performing rights associations like PRS for Music in the UK, or ASCAP, or BMI, or I think it's called CSAC. So there are all sorts of organizations all over the world where you can learn stuff. And of course you could even study with me, which would be quite outrageous for me to say in a program like this. But there's always ways you can get better. And while you need to write song after song after song, you also need to be smart about what you do, because careers can be quite short in this business, and we need to make the most of it, right? We need to get on with it and learn quickly. And that's why of course me and also everybody at the Garnish School, all the other instructors, we advocate taking those shortcuts and taking those courses, right? Because that time you save, okay, so yes, you lose a little bit of money, but the time that you save is going to be very important for you to write, right, to get your experience under your belt, but at a higher level, not at the noob or beginner or amateur level, right? Just to start at the intermediate level almost when you do lots of writing. So that's why I'm a sucker for courses myself. I've done lots of courses, both music and non-music related, and I think it's great, whether online or offline in the real world, to be able to go to an expert and just pick their brains, and then have it and sort of take notes and have maybe look at videos, have it in some sort of format that you can watch at any time, and speed up your learning like this. So we want to learn songwriterese, and one of the best ways of learning songwriterese is to study the greats. So we are going to go back to our lyrics screen, and I'm going to pick another song. Let's see what it is, because I don't know, because the tabs I'm looking at are so small that even with those glasses I cannot read them. So let's see what comes up. Okay. Frank Sinatra? No. let's look at Frank Sinatra another time. So I would like to look at so the first two songs were quite were a little bit more on the poetic or artistic side, right? And now I'd like to look at a song that is a Max Martin pop song. Max Martin, most successful pop songwriter in history. He didn't write the lyrics; he does melodies and chords and production. But here we have this song. I'm sure Ariana Grande co-wrote it, and Max Martin has a way of writing melodies that people call melodic math, which is very precise. It means the syllables are counted in a meticulous fashion, and the lyrics have, because he writes melody first, the lyrics have to match it. So the melodic rhythms, the parts of the melody that you can clap, are always very engaging and always very deliberate in Max Martin songs. And so here we have one that we can look at, and there should be very little flab in this song. So let's scroll through it. Okay, so this just repeats. Let's just keep let's keep this in focus. The first bit, so this lets us take in verse, pre-chorus, chorus, and well, what do you think? I think that this song it gets straight to the point, doesn't it? I'm so into you, I can barely breathe. So we even have the title right at the beginning, right? Which is another way of bringing the title home, of course, if you have it in the very first line. And so no doubts about what the song is about. I don't think there's anything that we can learn from this song, right? Other than that, maybe as guys, sometimes we miss the most obvious cues, right? Which I think is quite normal for guys. But other than that, it's not about that, right? Like in the previous songs, we were learning about how not to give up, how the best is still to come, and how we have to believe in it, and how it's great if other people, even if we don't believe in that, other people believe in us, right? In the second song, we were looking at how your life can be predetermined from the day you were born, right? And how even with the best will in the world, sometimes you just cannot escape it, right? You just cannot, and this is your life. So here there isn't such a worthy subject, right? It's a typical come on songs, which is perfectly acceptable in pop music. Whether you like pop music or not, that's by the by. I think what we have to appreciate here is how tightly written it is, right? And there's no filler, right? Straight to the point, a little bit racy, a little bit sexy, not overly so, right? When you listen to the latest Ariana Grande songs, that's why sometimes the songs that I show on this channel are a little bit older, because most modern hits are full of swear words, right? So therefore I cannot really show them in a teaching video like this, and so that's why we're looking at Into You and not the latest Ariana Grande songs, right? But here it's a little bit racy, like I said, but it's not like dirty in any way, right? So that's good. And we're left in no doubt as to what the song is about. Let's see if we've got any adventurous words in there. Let's count them. No. Okay. No. Maybe temperature. Maybe. No, 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 no. So let's see. Let's just scroll down a bit. So far, I haven't found one adventurous word. No, 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 and no. Right? So this is playing it perfectly safe. And so this is a way, if you have the best melody writer in the world, a fantastic production and a great sounding mix, right? Just then you don't you can afford to be a little bit more conventional with the lyrics, right? And also whether which dialect of songwriterese you speak, right? Whether it's more on the poetic side or more on the straight side is definitely down to genre. Like the Casey Musgrave song was in the country genre, right? Country or maybe rock, and so for that, people expect a story and people expect lots of fresh rhymes and images. But in pop, that kind of writing would be over the top, right? Especially when it's kind of come on pop, like dance pop, like this. Then a lot of the time, what you want is you just want something that's to the point, right? Not too difficult to understand. And that's why I chose this example. So it is songwriterese because it's done well, but it errs, if you like, on the straight side. Right, let's move on. Let's see whether we've got time for maybe one more song, and we shall switch to the next one. What have we got? Okay, let's listen to this one here, or look at it rather, because if we listen to it, we all burst into tears, because maybe you remember this is a song from, I think, 1990 it was, and it was the singer Sinead O'Connor crying in the video. The song is super sad anyway, right? So if that doesn't take you over the edge, looking at her the tear streaming down her cheek certainly will. And the music, of course, is very sad as well, with the chord progression. It's being very slow, very heavy, and so forth. But here today, we're just looking at the lyrics and see what we get. Right, didn't have lots to scroll through. Right. Let's just start with the title. Nothing compares to you, right? So apart from the, do you have it here in the title? Yeah. So you got the to you. So the typical the Prince writing with a number and a letter, right? Letter U. But other than that, because nothing compares to you. So it's not a very complicated chorus, right? This is something for those of us who like to think in more complex ways, like myself. Something to be mindful of. Excuse me. That you don't always need a complicated chorus. Sometimes it's great to just repeat one, to have one line, or maybe repeat it. Now here you have, because nothing compares to you, and that's it, right? So it brings the message home, right? Everybody knows what the song is about. And if you go back to the beginning, it's been 7 hours and 15 days since you took your love away, right? So straight away, we know what this song is about. So it's a breakup song, right? But it's specific in the beginning, right? We talked about killer first lines, and this to me is one of them. This to me is one of the classic lines in pop. Yeah, Prince is just one of the best writers, right? So yeah, I'm just seeing in the chat, one of you actually spotted that it was written by Prince and not by Sinead O'Connor or her team, and it's it's been 7 hours and 15 days, right? Now, I don't know about you, but anybody who has been through a breakup would know that that is how you feel, like very shortly after it, because everything, you have heightened awareness of everything, right? And every minute matters in high drama situations like that. So I think everybody can feel what Prince was saying or Sinead was singing. It's been 7 hours and 15 days, right? Now, if it wasn't, this to me is songwriter Rees, specific but not obscure, right? But if she'd sung "It's Been a While Since You've Been Gone," right? That would also have been a perfectly legitimate opening line, but not nearly half as good. So the listener will still have got what the song is about, but it's not art, it's not poetry, and it's definitely not songwriter Rees, right? So just take that in one more time. It's been 7 hours and 15 days since you took your love away, right? And then again, I can do whatever I want. I can eat my dinner in a fancy restaurant as well. A restaurant, we have an adventurer's word, right? That the other song we looked at a minute ago completely lacked, right? And then later on we have I went to the doctor, which is a little bit more unusual. So, but you also have, well, take away these blues. That sounds a bit strange. Probably this blues, right? But it is a bit of a cliche, but it works in here, right? Because also, if you remember the melody, it's a bluesy melody line, right? So it works. And so a sprinkling of adventurous words, right? Not too many, but very, very emotional, right? And this to me is a classic pop song and a classic pop lyric. So let me switch back to the camera. Right, hello again. And I just want to recap. Recapping is always a good thing, right? Because what we need to learn in songwriting and production, that goes all the way from what we've been doing today, from lyrics all the way to mastering, right? It's all like there's so much to learn, so much to take in. So for me, the best way is something called circular learning, which is basically doing it over and over and over again, right? Until you say, Alex, no more, I get it. Please, I'm not an imbecile, right? I'm not a retard. I get it. But I'd rather have that you're secretly shouting and swearing at me, rather than you not getting it and then you're writing boring or duff or cheesy or cringe-worthy song after cringe-worthy song that nobody likes. Because if you get too many knockdowns, right, then not everybody's going to come back from that. So keep that in mind. It doesn't mean you should never release anything, right? But you should get good quickly, like I said before, right? So shortcuts, take them. If they are there, and they never used to be there, right? Never. But now they are, and I'd take full advantage of them. Right. So, what did we say? The hallmarks of a great lyric. So, great title, great concept, professional rhyming and imagery, believable, personal, emotional, and universal, relatable words, language, and concepts. Right? Speaking the language of songwriterese, which is somewhere halfway between poetry and prose, and then also having a killer line somewhere in the song, and if that's the first line in the song, then even better, because it'll encourage your listener to also then give you the time of day and listen to the rest of the song, right? Because otherwise they may just press the skip button, which is our number one enemy in songwriting, right? Skip button is very easily done, right? It wasn't so easy in the old days, because you had to actually get out of your chair, lift up the needle, right, and then find the groove that was a little bit bigger than the surrounding grooves, so you would find the next song, right? But with CDs and then with Spotify playlists, you could just very easily skip to the next song, right? And unfortunately, that's how most people listen. So it's our job as songwriters to make sure that this does not happen to us, right? So we want to have a great mixture of safe words, soft words, and adventurous words. So safe words are words like baby, tonight, I, me, you, right? Why, because, right. And soft words are hope, embrace, dream, love, miss, kiss, soft, right? And adventurous words, what do we have? Restaurant, right? We have in our song, we had trailer park. We had the 4th of July, right? So in each one of those songs, we had at least one, or plastic bag, right? We had at least one word which you wouldn't normally find in pop songs. And that applies all across the board. You may have a little sound or a vocal chop or whatever it is that you may not find in most other songs. It's something that people only find in your song. In marketing speak, which is what I study a lot, marketing, online marketing, all of that, is called the USP, right? Unique selling proposition. What is it that's unique about your song that you cannot get from all the thousands and millions of other songs that are out there? And so keep that in mind and start with the lyrics. Just make sure that you got that angle, that concept, something that you really, really care about, and then let that carry through. Because that concept, when you think it all the way through, that has to, like I said before, give ammunition to the singer on stage and in the studio, right? And I just got a little bit of a compliment. Thank you very much. I shall write thank you in here. So see if I can multitask, talk and write at the same time. I don't think I can. You see, I was going to write thanks you. So there you go. That's the extent of my multitasking ability. So I'm just going to write thank you, just to have something to on the screen to look at. Thank you very much. And now, of course, I forgot what I was going to say. Now, I was going to say that everything needs to give people further down the line ammunition to proceed with it and to be excited about it. So if you have a great concept and a great title, that makes the singer want to sing in the studio and later on stage. Then you need people like PR people, press people, maybe radio pluggers, live booking agents, right? A&R people, presidents of record companies, presidents of publishing companies, the head of Spotify playlists, right? Everybody needs to be excited about it, and to me, that stands and falls with the lyric. If you mess that up, unless you're in certain genres like EDM, where maybe you have very few words, but in most songs, most genres, just think about R&B, hip-hop, right? Rap, where you'd be nothing without the lyrics, right? So if you don't have that, then it's going to be very, very difficult to keep all these people who may be on your payroll even eventually, to keep them motivated, right? So that's why it's so important to put in the hours. I don't mean just in general studying songwriting, like I said before, but on each song, put in the hours to make it great, or as great as you can make it, and then get feedback and make it even greater. So as you can see, I take this very seriously, but maybe you take it seriously too. Maybe you've caught the bug like I have and cannot imagine doing this badly, right? Or just looking at it like, well, what can I get away with, right? So on that passionate note, we shall call it a day for today. I hope you've enjoyed today's session as much as I have, and I shall see you next time.